How did my twin ruin my life? She stole my identity and tried to take my future. My name is Erin. I'm 29 years old, and I'm from the UK originally, but I live in the US now for work. I'm an identical twin, which means people have been confusing me with my sister my entire life. As kids, it was harmless. Teachers mixing us up, kids calling us the twins, relatives giving us matching gifts like we were a set of mugs. My twin sister is Ava. If you picture twins, you probably imagine two girls giggling, swapping clothes, finishing each other's sentences. That was never us. Ava has always wanted to be the main character. I don't mean she's confident, I mean she needs the room to orbit her. If it doesn't, she gets restless and starts pulling at threads until everyone looks. Growing up, I was the responsible twin. Ava was the fun twin. My parents didn't say it exactly like that, but it was implied in 1,000 little moments. If Ava forgot homework, she was creative. If I forgot homework, I was careless. If Ava cried, she was sensitive. If I cried, I was dramatic. Ava learned early that she could do something wild, then smile and watch people forgive her because she was charming. I learned early that if I reacted, I'd be told to calm down. When we were 17, Ava did the first thing that made me realize she could use our identical faces like a tool. I had a part-time job at a bakery. One Saturday, my manager pulled me aside and said, "We need to talk about your attitude." I blinked. "What attitude?" She crossed her arms. "Don't play dumb. You came in yesterday, you rolled your eyes at customers, and you stormed out early." I remember feeling like I'd stepped into the wrong movie. "I wasn't here yesterday," I said. "I had school all day." My manager frowned. "Erin, you were literally wearing your hair in that messy bun. You always do." My stomach dropped. Ava wore her hair in the same messy bun when she wanted. I said quietly, "Was it possible? It was my sister?" My manager looked at me like I was trying to get away with something. "Your sister doesn't work here." I didn't even know what to say. I couldn't prove where I was without sounding insane. I lost that job 2 weeks later officially for reliability. At home, Ava shrugged and said, "Maybe your manager just didn't like you." I stared at her. "Were you there?" She rolled her eyes. "No. Why would I want to work at your stupid bakery?" I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something about her tone didn't feel like denial. It felt like entertainment. After that, I started noticing little things going missing: lipstick, hair clips, a specific jacket. Ava would borrow stuff and return it smelling like perfume I didn't wear. When we went to college, we separated. Different universities, different cities. I thought distance would solve it. It didn't. It just changed the format. In college, Ava would tell people stories about me that weren't true. She'd say I was wild, that I got arrested once, that I slept with someone's boyfriend. It was always said with a laugh, like gossip, like it didn't matter. But gossip sticks, and when you share a face with someone, people don't know which version to believe. My breaking point came after graduation. I moved to the US for a job in marketing. Good job, stable company, work visa, the whole big scary adult life. I was proud of myself. Ava stayed in the UK and bounced between jobs. She'd call me and say, "You're so lucky," in a tone that didn't feel like happiness for me, more like she was keeping score. Then she started visiting. At first, I was excited. I missed having family nearby. I wanted to believe we could be normal as adults. The first visit went okay, awkward, but fine. She flirted with my friends a bit, overshared, acted like she owned my apartment, but nothing catastrophic. The second visit is when the real damage started. I was at work one day when my coworker Jules pulled me aside. "Erin," she said carefully, "can I ask you something?" My stomach tightened. "Okay." Jules lowered her voice. "Were you at the bar near our office last night?" I blinked. "No." "Why?" She hesitated. "Because I saw you, and you were really wasted. You were yelling at a guy and you knocked over a chair. People were staring." My throat went dry. "I wasn't there," I said. Jules frowned. "I literally said hi and you ignored me." My body went cold in a way I can't describe, like my blood decided to stop cooperating. "Ava," I whispered without thinking. Jules stared. "Who?" "My twin," I said, voice shaking. "She's visiting." Jules's expression shifted from judgment to confusion. You have a twin? Yes, I said. Identical. Jules exhaled. Okay, wow. I went home that night and confronted Ava. She was on my couch eating chips like she paid rent. Did you go out last night? I asked. Ava smiled innocently. Yeah, I met some people. Did you tell them you were me? I asked. Ava laughed. Why would I do that? I stared at her. Because someone at my job thinks I was screaming drunk in a bar. Ava shrugged. Maybe you have a reputation now. That sentence wasn't denial, it was a needle. I felt my hands shaking. Ava, you can't do that, I said. You can't use my face to do whatever and let me deal with it. Ava rolled her eyes. Relax. It's funny, you're always so serious. Funny. That was the moment I realized Ava didn't see boundaries as real. She saw them as a game. I told her she needed to stop going out without telling people who she was. She promised with a smirk, Okay, Mom. 2 weeks later, my boss called me into his office. He shut the door and said, Erin, we need to discuss a complaint. My heart started pounding. About what? He looked uncomfortable. A client claimed you sent inappropriate messages on LinkedIn. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I didn't, I said. He turned his screen toward me. The messages were real, sent from my LinkedIn account. Flirty, unprofessional, and, frankly, not written like me. And attached was a selfie. My face. But the background wasn't my apartment. It was Ava's. I stared at it, stomach dropping, because I suddenly understood the worst part of identical twins. Your face can be evidence against you. And my twin wasn't just embarrassing me anymore. She was putting my career and my immigration status at risk. When my boss showed me the LinkedIn messages, the room went quiet in my head. Like all sound got sucked into a vacuum. He said, We're not firing you right now. But this is serious. It's a professionalism issue and a client trust issue. I nodded like I was listening, but my brain was racing. How did she get into my LinkedIn? I went to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and checked my phone. My email, my LinkedIn, my bank app, everything. Nothing looked obviously broken. No strange logins, no security alerts. Then I remembered something that made my stomach twist. Ava had borrowed my laptop the previous weekend to order a dress. She'd also asked me for the Wi-Fi password, which I'd given her without thinking. I called her from the bathroom stall. Ava, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, did you log into my LinkedIn? She laughed lightly. Why would I do that? Because someone used my account to message a client, I said. Ava Sahil. You're so paranoid. I'm not paranoid, I snapped. I'm looking at the messages right now. There was a pause. Just long enough. Then she said casual, Okay, fine, I did. But it was just a joke. I felt my vision blur with anger. A joke? I hissed. It's not like anything happened, she said. Men love you. You should be grateful. That sentence made my blood run cold, because it wasn't only sabotage, it was resentment wrapped in flattery. I said, You're coming home, today. Ava scoffed. No, I'm not. Yes, I said, voice shaking. You are, you're done. You are not ruining my job. She went silent, then laughed again, darker this time. You can't kick me out, she said. I'm your sister. You're not acting like it, I said. Ava's tone turned sharp. Oh, so you're going to abandon me in a foreign country? I'm not abandoning you, I said. I'm protecting myself. She hung up on me. I left work early and drove home feeling like my skin didn't fit right. When I got there, Ava wasn't on the couch. Her suitcase was gone. For a split second, I felt relief. Then I noticed my passport folder on my desk was moved slightly, like someone had opened it and put it back. My heart started pounding. I checked. My passport was still there. My work visa documents were there. But the folder felt disturbed. I opened my mail drawer. My social security card was gone. I sat down hard on the floor. Ava hadn't just logged into my LinkedIn. She'd gone into my personal documents. I texted her immediately, Did you take my SS card? She replied, Calm down. That was all. I called my parents in the UK, shaking. My mom answered cheerfully. Hi, sweetheart. I said, Ava stole my identity. She used my LinkedIn to message a client and now my social security card is missing. Silence. Then my mom sighed, like I'd told her the dishwasher was broken. "Erin," she said gently, "Ava wouldn't do that." "She did," I said. She admitted logging in, and my SS card is gone. My dad took the phone. "Listen," he said, voice stern, "your sister has had a hard time. Don't accuse her of criminal behavior." I felt like I was going insane. "This is not about her hard time," I said. "This is my life." My dad said, "You've always been dramatic." I closed my eyes, furious and hurt, because there it was, the childhood dynamic still running. Ava does something reckless. I react. I become the problem. I hung up and called my friend Jules, the coworker who had first warned me. Jules said, "Erin, you need to lock everything down, change passwords, freeze credit if you can, and honestly, you need to get her out of your life." "I'm trying," I whispered. That night, I didn't sleep. I changed every password, enabled two-factor authentication, logged out all devices. I put a credit freeze on my accounts. I ordered a replacement SS card and filed a report that it was missing. I didn't want to involve police. I didn't want to be that person who calls cops on family. But I also couldn't risk losing my job and visa. 2 days later, my landlord emailed me. "Hi, Erin, just a heads up, someone called claiming to be you and requested to be removed from the lease." My stomach flipped. Ava had called my landlord pretending to be me. I called the landlord immediately and explained I have an identical twin. He sounded skeptical until I offered to come in with ID. He agreed to put a note on file. Only in-person requests, ID required. When I got to the office, the receptionist said something that made my skin crawl. "She sounded exactly like you." That's the thing about a twin. It isn't just your face, it's your voice, your mannerisms, your laugh. If she wants to imitate you, she can. My phone buzzed while I was in the lobby. Ava texted, "Stop overreacting or I'll make it worse." I stared at the message, fingers numb. That was the first time she threatened me directly. I screenshotted it. Then I did something I should have done earlier. I started building a file. Receipts, screenshots, dates, times, emails, every weird thing documented. Because I realized something important. My twin's biggest advantage wasn't that she looked like me. It was that she could rely on people assuming I was crazy if I accused her. So I needed proof so clear that even my parents couldn't both sides it. But I didn't have proof of the SS card. And that's what she used next. Because the following week, I got a letter from a credit card company. "Thank you for your application." I hadn't applied. My hands went cold. My twin wasn't just playing. She was committing identity theft. And she was doing it with my name. The credit card application letter felt like a horror movie prop. Polite font, neat envelope, complete destruction inside. I called the company. They told me an application had been submitted online using my information. I asked what address was on the application. It was my apartment address. My apartment, the place Ava had been staying. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I told them it was fraudulent and asked what they needed. They said I needed to file an identity theft report and send documentation. I sat at my kitchen table shaking, staring at my laptop, trying to understand how my sister had escalated this far. Then my boss emailed me again. HR wanted to review the LinkedIn incident formally. I was already on thin ice. If HR decided I was a liability, I could lose my job. If I lost my job, I could lose my visa. Ava wasn't just ruining my social life or embarrassing me. She was messing with my ability to stay in the country. I called her, even though my entire body screamed not to. She picked up on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. "What?" she said, bored. "Did you apply for a credit card in my name?" I asked. Ava laughed. "Maybe." My stomach dropped. "Ava, this is serious. This is illegal." She sighed theatrically. "Oh my God, relax. I needed it." "You needed it?" I repeated. "You have everything," she snapped suddenly. "You have a fancy job, a fancy apartment, your little American life, and you act like you're better than me." I stared at the wall, stunned. "I don't act like I'm better than you." "Yes, you do," she hissed. "You always have. Even when we were kids, teachers loved you. Mom and Dad trusted you. Everyone thinks you're the good one." I swallowed. "This isn't about childhood," I said. "This is about you committing fraud." Ava's voice went quiet and cold. Don't say that word, she said. Fraud? I asked. Yes, she said. Don't say it like I'm some criminal. I almost laughed at the irony. Ava, you stole my SS card. She paused. Then she said softly, prove it. I felt rage surge. Where are you? I demanded. Ava laughed again. Not your problem. Then she hung up. That night, I filed an identity theft report. I contacted the credit bureaus. I locked down everything I could. I also contacted an immigration attorney for advice because my anxiety was spiraling into worst-case scenarios. The attorney said, document everything and protect your credit. Also, if someone is impersonating you, you may need a police report, especially if there's financial fraud. A police report. Against my twin. The idea made me sick, but so did losing my life. The next day, my parents called me. I knew immediately something had happened because my mom's voice was strained. Ava told us you're harassing her, my mom said. I laughed once, bitter. She's harassing me. She says you're jealous, my dad cut in. She says you've always been jealous. I felt my hands go numb. Of what? I said. My stolen identity? My dad snapped, don't be sarcastic. I took a deep breath. Ava applied for a credit card in my name. She used my LinkedIn to message a client. She called my landlord pretending to be me. My mom's voice trembled. Ava said she was just trying to help you. Help me, I repeated, by destroying my job? My parents didn't answer. Then my mom said softly, are you sure you're not stressed? You've always been anxious. That line hit like a slap. Because it was the same gaslighting pattern as always. If Ava does something wrong and I react, then my reaction becomes the problem. I said, I'm sending you proof, I told them. If you ignore it after that, that's your choice. I emailed them screenshots. Ava's threat text, the landlord email, the credit card letter, the LinkedIn message screenshots. My mom replied an hour later. This could be photoshopped. That was the moment my heart broke. Not because my parents didn't love me, but because they loved the version of reality that required the least work. The version where Ava is chaotic but harmless, and I'm dramatic but manageable. I realized then that I needed proof that could not be argued with. And then Ava handed it to me because she got greedy. A week later, HR called me into a meeting. They showed me a complaint from a client who had received a strange email from me asking for money to handle an emergency. I felt like my soul left my body. This wasn't LinkedIn flirting anymore. This was a scam. I said immediately, that wasn't me. I have an identical twin who has been impersonating me. The HR manager stared. You have a what? I showed them photos me and Ava side by side. I showed them the identity theft report number. I showed them the email to my landlord. I showed them everything. HR's tone changed. They didn't treat me like an employee with drama anymore. They treated me like someone whose identity had been compromised. They asked, can you prove it wasn't you? And finally, I could. Because the email was sent at a time I was in a meeting with 4 colleagues, the calendar invite proved it, the building badge log proved I was in the office. HR said, we need you to file a police report. So I did, and I hated every second of it. Sitting in a station explaining that my identical twin had been using my identity felt ridiculous until I showed the officer the fraud attempts. The officer's face tightened. This is serious, he said, and the sooner we stop it, the better. They opened an investigation. A few days later, Ava texted me again, furious. Why did you involve police? You ruined everything. I replied one time, return my SS card. Stop using my identity. Do not contact me again. Ava responded, you'll regret this. Then she disappeared. No one knew where she was, not even my parents, supposedly. But then, my bank called. Someone tried to access my account in person. In my name? Using my face. Ava had come back to the US, and she was escalating again. The bank incident was the scariest part because it meant Ava wasn't just digital, she was physical, present, wearing my face. The bank's fraud department told me the person had come in claiming to be me, but the teller got suspicious because the signature didn't match, and she seemed agitated when asked for additional ID. Agitated? That sounded like Ava. I immediately updated my bank security. Password phrases, in-person ID notes, alerts. Then my detective called and said, "We can't arrest her without catching her or having stronger evidence. We need a confirmed impersonation event." I understood what that meant. We needed a controlled situation. I didn't want to set a trap like a movie, but I also needed to protect myself, so my lawyer friend helped me create a plan that was legal and safe. We would schedule an appointment at my bank where I'd show up with ID and request a note added that my twin might attempt impersonation, and to contact police if someone claiming to be me appears without the agreed verification phrase. Then we waited. 2 days later, my phone pinged with an alert from my building's door camera. A woman was in the lobby, looking up at the camera. My face. Ava. She was wearing my style of coat and my glasses, because she'd learned over time what made us me instead of her. She rang my apartment buzzer. I didn't answer. She rang again. Then she texted, "Open the door." My hands were shaking. I texted back, "Leave." She replied, "We need to talk." I didn't respond. I called building security and told them someone was trespassing. Security escorted her out. The officer assigned to my case told me to call them if she returned. That night, Ava emailed my work from a new address, pretending to be me, saying I had a family emergency and needed access to payroll information. IT flagged it because HR had already placed a note on my file about identity compromise. Ava was losing pathways, so she tried new ones. Then she made her biggest mistake. She contacted my coworker, Jules. Jules messaged me, "Your sister just DM'd me saying you're having a breakdown and she needs help getting you committed." Committed? As in mental health hold. My blood ran cold. Because now Ava wasn't just trying to steal money. She was trying to steal my credibility. I told Jules, "Do not respond. Screenshot everything. Send it to me." Jules did. The messages were explicit. Ava wrote, "Erin is unstable. She's paranoid. She thinks I'm stealing her identity. Please tell her boss she needs help." That message was important because it contained a line that undermined Ava's lies. She thinks I'm stealing her identity. No innocent person says that. A week later, police found Ava because she tried to pick up a package using my name at a shipping center. The employee recognized the name from a fraud alert and called authorities. Ava was detained. When the detective called me, I felt a rush of relief and grief at the same time. Relief that it was stopping. Grief that my twin had become a person I needed law enforcement to handle. I met with the detective and provided my evidence file. They recovered my social security card from Ava's bag. Holding it again felt surreal. Such a small piece of paper had become a weapon. Ava's story changed multiple times. First, she said it was a misunderstanding. Then she said she was helping. Then she said I gave her permission. Finally, she broke and screamed that none of this would have happened if Erin wasn't so selfish. Selfish. For wanting my name to belong to me, my parents flew to the US after Ava was detained. They met me in a quiet room at the station, faces pale. My mom looked at the evidence. Her hands trembled. My dad stared at the floor, jaw clenched. Then my mom whispered, "Why would she do this?" I didn't even have energy for anger. I said, "Because you let her." My mom flinched, tears forming. "We didn't know," she whispered. "You didn't want to know," I said quietly. Ava was charged with identity-related fraud attempts. I'm not going into legal details here, but there were real consequences. Not movie prison, but probation, restitution, processes, and restrictions. My work situation stabilized. HR documented the event. My boss apologized for doubting me initially. But the emotional damage was the hardest part, learning that the person who shared my face didn't see me as a person. She saw me as a resource. Ava was ordered to return to the UK and stay away from me. My parents begged me to forgive her. And that's where my question comes in. Because now everyone believes me. Now everyone sees Ava's behavior. But they still want me to carry the emotional burden of keeping the family together. It's been about a year since Ava was caught. I moved apartments. I changed my phone number. I locked my credit. I learned more about security than I ever wanted to know. I also learned something about family. People will call you strong when you endure and cruel when you finally stop enduring. My parents tried to broker reconciliation. They framed it like, "She's your twin, you're all she has." But that line made me angry, because it wasn't true. Ava had them. Ava always had them. I had to fight for myself alone. Ava sent emails from the UK through new accounts, saying she was sorry, saying she was unwell, saying she needed me. I didn't respond. My attorney advised no contact except through legal channels. My parents said I was being harsh. But my therapist said, you can't heal in a space where your identity is still negotiable. So I chose no contact. Here's what changed when I chose that. My life got quieter. My stomach stopped dropping every time my phone buzzed. I stopped feeling like I had to prove my reality. I also started seeing how much energy I used to spend managing Ava's chaos. As kids, I managed it to keep peace at home. As adults, I managed it because I didn't want to be the bad sister. But she never worried about being bad. She worried about getting what she wanted. Now, the family thinks I'm cold. Some relatives say, she's sick, have compassion. Others say, she's your twin, you're supposed to be close. I don't argue anymore, I just repeat, I'm not in contact. Because boundaries aren't speeches, they're repetition. The strangest part is that I do grieve Ava. Not the Ava who committed identity fraud, the Ava I hoped she could be. The twin sister people imagine when they hear twin. But I've accepted something painful. I never had that twin. I had a rival wearing my face. So, Reddit. How did your twin ruin your life? Mine did it by making my identity unstable by turning my name into something anyone could wear. She didn't just steal money. She stole trust, reputation, and years of peace. And now my question is, Aita for going no contact with my twin, even after she faced consequences and claims she's changing? Because part of me worries I'm being unforgiving. And then I remember my social security card missing, my boss questioning my integrity, my parents saying I was dramatic. And I think, forgiveness can be internal. Contact is optional. I can forgive from a distance. I can wish her healing without inviting her back into my life. And for the first time, that choice feels like mine. So, Aita for cutting my twin off permanently after she tried to steal my identity? What would you do? If you want more Reddit-style long stories, subscribe.